Yo, what's happening, Raider Nation? It's your boy Soto here. You know what it is. Raiders versus the world, talking about the team that the world loves to hate, your Las Vegas Raiders. So, a lot of talk going on in this business right now, right? A lot of talk about who's going to draft who's going to go where, scouting, mocks, all this stuff. But can't forget free agency, even when it's so close to the draft. A small portion of the scouting team are still out there looking for guys that are either available or could be made available either right before or after the draft. You got to keep your eye on everything. You can't just solely focus on the draft right now because a lot of guys could slip through the cracks and be available to you that you just missed because you're not looking for them. The position we're talking about today is wide receiver. But before we do, I want to make sure everyone please to like, comment, and subscribe to this video. It's a great way to support the channel. It's absolutely free, and it's the bare minimum you can do to support the channel besides doing absolutely nothing, which I do appreciate. So look, I want to make sure everyone understands that these players all fit in some way, shape, and form. Now, the measure and the amount that they fit for what we're trying to do can differ, and that's what we're going to talk about here. Now, the first guy we're going to talk about is Keenan Allen. Now, there's a lot of things to like about Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is going to be a guy that's, at this point in his career, it's not going to be too much of an outside guy anymore. He's going to be more of a slot guy. He can get open still on anybody. He's got great hands. He's got great attitude. He's got a tough mentality. All things that Coach Pete Carroll is looking for. But he can also block, which is what Chip Kelly is looking for in the run game. Look, he is 33. He's still productive, but just don't let that fool you, because he did lead the Bears last season with 7 receiving touchdowns. I mean, he was the guy that Caleb Williams was looking for most of the time, even though DJ Moore was there too. I mean, the guy that really caught the touchdowns was Keenan Allen. On top of that, he had 70 receptions and almost 800 yards. Now, look, this offense and with the Bears wasn't all that great because they couldn't really protect Caleb Williams, or they couldn't run the ball. So it was just Caleb Williams running around trying to make things happen. Even with all that nonsense going on, he led the team in the Triple Crown with receiving and touchdowns, receptions, and yards. It's a great start, a great way to start with all these positives going on with Keenan Allen. There's one last thing, too. He's got a prior connection to receiver coach Chris Beatty. Chris Beatty's a guy that used to coach him in the past. And I mean, if you want to get a guy who can do the things the way your wide receiver coach is telling you how to do them, it's going to be really hard to find a guy that's better at teaching on the field than a Keenan Allen. All right, up next, a little bit of surprise. A name that we've heard of previously, maybe not so much last season, but it's DJ Chark. He was with the Chargers last season for a little bit before he got injured, which is kind of common for him. It's kind of a common thing for DJ Chark to get hurt. He was with the Jags. I think he will play with the Detroit Lions maybe. He was all over the place. But one thing he was always at was in the training room. And that's a shame because he really does have a lot of good skills. And even though he's getting a little bit older, I mean, he's still really good. He's a sleeper pickup. He was limited to 7 games last season in 2024 due to injuries, and it's just a shame that he can't keep himself healthy. Maybe it's a thing that we can do here with the Raiders to get him into the training room and treat him the right way, and maybe not ask too much of him, be more of a complimentary player. If you can do that, you maybe get a little bit more mileage out of DJ Chark than some of the other teams have. Because look, this dude is still a deep threat. He's averaged 15-plus yards per reception in his career. This guy can get the ball deep, and he can go far. It's one of the things we need to look at if you want to take a look at having the offense be a little bit more dynamic. You got to get guys who can go down the field and create after the catch. I know we have Trey Tucker, and he's really fast, but he's not very good after the catch. He's more of a catch and drop to the ground type of guy. DJ Chark is definitely not that. He's going to catch it and try to go to the end zone. I mean, it seems like he's been in the league forever, but he's really only 28 years old, and I think a lot of the injury history has really kind of made him look older than he actually is. But he would be a really good pairing with the strong arm of Geno Smith to be able to get the ball down the field. He's nice and tall. He's big. He's fast. A lot worse options out there than DJ Chark. All right, next guy is the likely top option. That's a guy that we've all been talking about for a really obvious reason. This is Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett was with Pete Carroll for a lot of years in Seattle, his whole career actually until last season. Pete Carroll loves the guy. Not only is he a good receiver, he's a solid teammate, he's a good person, but he's a guy that can be pretty productive, especially in the red zone. Now, at 32 years old, he is past his prime, and last season he did have 49 catches for 600 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he was marred by injury. And if he comes back a little bit more healthy, I think he'd be a lot better with the guys around him like Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers and other guys to be able to be more of a complimentary guy than try to be the guy. Ultimately, also, he's going to be a great guy for the locker room. And just like Geno Smith coming in and being a really good player and a guy that can really command the locker room and really set the culture, Tyler Lockett can do the same thing. Our next player on this list is a guy that I talked about before, and I think is a really good selection, is Elijah Moore. He's only 25 years old, so he's in the depth of his prime right now, and he's got a super high ceiling. He had a lot of just bums thrown at him, throwing the football at quarterback with the Jets and also with the Browns. So it's like you can't really look at his production and be like, that's who he is. I think it's a lot better than his production has showed because he hasn't had a lot of guys throwing to him. And he just had so many different offensive coordinators, and they used him in so many different ways. Outside receiver, slot receiver. He's more of a gadget guy. He can do it all, but I think he can have a lot more of a calming presence and influence with Chip Kelly on this offense, really getting the best out of Elijah Moore. Now, despite all these different players, throwing to him last season with the Browns, he had 61 catches, almost 700 yards. And he could really thrive as mostly a slot type of receiver with the Raiders because, man, he's super quick. He'd get the ball and bam, he's up the field like that. He's also a little bit more versatile than you might think. He had 20 carries last season for 71 yards, a touchdown, but 7 of those were first down. So it's like that's what you're looking for with a kind of a gadget player, a jet sweep, is get the first down. And a lot of times, that's exactly what Elijah Moore did. So Elijah Moore is, I think, one of the top candidates because of his age, his versatility, and his overall skill set. All right, last but not least is the name that we all remember, a name that we all know and love, and that's Hunter Renfro. Look, I love Hunter Renfro, man. I think that he's a guy that really showed a lot of heart and ability, a lot of smarts. He just had a rough go at it. They put him at a punt returner, which I didn't think was the best thing to suit him because he's a little bit smaller, and although he's quick, he's not fast enough to get away from a lot of guys, and he ended up taking a lot of hard hits. On top of that, he had some fumbling issues on top of his concussion issues, and then after he tried to come back the next season, he had a lot of drop issues. It's like it didn't really work out well towards the end. And I think it was more of an issue with Josh McDaniels not being able to get the best out of Hunter Renfro, and also some of the issues from the previous regime, putting him in positions that weren't going to make him have a lot of success because when they just used him primarily as a receiver, he balled out. Now, look, he was a Pro Bowler in 2021, over 100 catches. We all know that, 1,000 yards. He had the 9 touchdowns with the Raiders that season. But his struggles since then are a little bit concerning. One of the reasons why he slipped to the 5th round, despite his production in college at Clemson, was because he's a little bit smaller guy. He's quicker than he is fast. He can't, like I said, he can't run away from defenders. He gets hit a lot, and it's really a shame because I really do think that given a different path, he could be stayed a lot healthier and he'd be a lot more productive later in his career. Now, he's not old, right? He's not even 30 yet. But for right now, if he can prove that he's healthy, I think it could be an option. But the fact that he visited the Raiders and left without a deal, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. But stranger things have happened. If maybe some of these guys on this list are getting plucked off, especially like the Elijah Moores and the Lockett start getting plucked off to other teams, it may be a chance for Hunter Renfro to go in there and show what he can do. At least kind of be a camp guy and see if he can kind of hang on to the team, because I have the feeling that once Hunter Renfro just latches on to the Raiders team, he's not going to want to let go. All right, guys, my time for today. Really appreciate you guys watching. Let me know what you guys think of these 5 options. They all have their pluses and minuses, but ultimately they can all be of good service to the Raiders, not only on the field, but in the locker room. I want to make sure everyone please to like, comment, and subscribe to this video. It's an excellent way to support the channel. It's absolutely free to do, and it's the bare minimum you can do to support the channel besides doing absolutely nothing and just watching the video, which, of course, I always do appreciate. And let's be honest, if you're still watching and you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, okay? I put out good content probably every single day, and you're going to love it. All right, guys, that's my time. Until next time, everybody. Peace. Hey, Raider Nation, thanks for watching. There's plenty more where that came from. Go ahead and smash that like button, drop a comment, make sure to subscribe, and share to all your socials. It's the bare minimum you can do without doing absolutely nothing.